Alright folks, so before we get started, these knives are provided by Scott at Bigboreknifeandgear. Fantastic user, fantastic person, makes great content. Go ahead and link his channel in the description below. Definitely check him out. Alright, so first off we got the Ray Laconico Keen from Mass Drop. This is a beautiful titanium frame lock, very much a gents carry, CPMS 35 VN steel, solid action. We have a couple different notable pieces here. You have most of the branding on the actual spine. The actual mass drop is there, unfortunately, but it's not too big of a deal. This blade is an absolute fingerprint magnet. Nice titanium scales, frame lock, clip. Overall, aesthetically, very nice knife. Very much a gents carry, very kind of plain, unassuming, but overall, very solid. Now this knife is very much designed for your standard EDC use. Here are a couple EDC staples to give you a nice solid size comparison and try to figure out if this knife really is for you. And here's a size comparison everybody can relate to, a standard Sharpie, both uncapped and capped. Now I have size 2XL hand, so for me this knife's quite a bit on the small side. I do have an entire finger hanging off the end, but despite that, it is relatively comfortable in hand. There's no real hot spots to speak of, very smooth, really can't feel the clip at all. So overall, definitely a very solid design, very nice piece. Now this knife will very much shave hair, but it has a hell of a hard time cutting paper, which is strange. While it definitely does cut, it does not cut phenomenal. There are slight resistances to it, so even though it's relatively sharp, even though it's relatively thin behind the edge, it just is not the greatest slicer for whatever reason. Very strange choice, not too sure how that works, but there you have it. However, as far as actual work goes, this thing rockets through cardboard like it's nobody's business. So based on what your workload is and what your EDC tasks are like, this one still might be just perfect for you. Now this is a pair of your standard Carhartt work pants. When you first put the knife in the pocket, it wants to stop right there. With a bit of force, you can get it to go further down, but if you then do that, it takes quite a bit of force to get it out. So while it does fit very well in the pocket, it does carry very nice. It's a little bit of a pain in the ass to get inside, a little bit more of a pain in the ass to get it out. Now, what we have is a knife that carries just fine in the pocket, but it's quite a bit of a pain in the butt in order to get it in or to get it out. That will cut the hair off your arms very effectively, will cut through paper pretty ineffectively, and will absolutely laser beam through boxes. So at the end, this knife is very much a quandary to me. I'm not too sure how I really feel about it in the end. My overall score is going to be a 7.5. Overall, I do happen to enjoy the knife, but it does have some definite problems. Now secondly, we have the Hogue Deca. My immediate first impressions of this knife are, if you happen to close it like this and you let it drop down into your palm, it will cut you. It's not always, you definitely do have to be a little careful, but the moment you think this knife's not going to cut you, it cuts you. It's not a deep cut, it's not a bad cut, it's a superficial cut, but it's definitely a cut and it's extremely irritating. And speaking of cuts, unlike the Ray Laconico Keen, this thing is an absolute laser beam. Through paper, through cardboard, and through my awkward little man hairs. Because at the end of the day, the Hogue Deca is meant for to be a work knife, and as such, the 20 CV steel, which holds a phenomenal edge for a very long time, cuts like an absolute laser beam. It's a very functional, very beautiful, very work-friendly and work-hardened steel that is absolutely good to go. It also slides into the pocket without issue, slides out without issue, and you really cannot even tell you were carrying this knife. It absolutely disappears. Now the Hogue Deca is overall a fantastic knife, but it's not quite a fantastic knife for me. But it very much might be for you. Now we have a beautiful 20 CV blade, very functional, great user-friendly steel. Bit of a pain in the ass to sharpen, but will take a very keen edge for a very, very long time. Beautiful scales, nice patterning to them, no real hot spots to speak of, a nice carry clip which allows you to conceal quite effectively if you do so choose. It does slide in and out of the pocket perfectly fine. My main qualms with this knife have to do with the size, and that's very much a personal preference. So while it's not the right size for me, it might be the right size for you. So my overall review on the Hogue Deca is going to be a 7 out of 10. Overall, good knife. Not a great one, but very, very solid all around. If you do have smaller hands, I'm pretty sure this will be a fantastic knife or a great one for you, just not for me personally. We have the Sean O'Connell knives. This is the LBXL model in Nitro V steel. Overall, beautiful, beautiful knife. Now, ergonomically, this is an absolute home run. You have this nice finger control to choke up on it for some actual work. You also have a nice big handle that takes up every inch of my 2XL size hands, which fits very, very nicely. You have this beautiful, beautiful blade in Nitro V steel with these fantastic grind lines, and is an overall beautiful piece that cuts through paper like a dream, and cardboard like it's its worst fucking nightmare. Fantastic cutter, great user. I'm loving it already. Now this is very much a big knife, and while it does slide into the pocket very cleanly, it's a bit of a pain in the ass to get out. It does take some force. The way the blade is designed gives you a very large footprint, so even though it's an absolutely beautiful knife, it is an absolute pocket hog, to be absolutely positive. And that is because, in case you aren't aware already, this is a big ass knife. These are all big ass knives, and it fits right along with it. This is also a heavy ass knife, weighing in at a whopping 11.7 ounces. This thing is an absolute tank in the pocket, an absolute tank in the hand. Personally, I love heavy knives, but this is kind of pushing it. So this is a big knife, so as long as you're okay with just having a knife in your right pocket or left hand pocket, it definitely won't be too big of a deal. But if you want to go ahead and put pens and change and other knives in there, this one might not be for you. Now, as far as the action goes, the LBXL has a phenomenal opening mechanism with this nice, generous, oblong thumb hole. You can definitely spidey flick it if you so choose. However, there are times when this lock bar will go just a little bit too far over, and it takes an absolutely insane amount of pressure to get it out. Like so. And that's not particularly good. But on a positive note, you can also front flip it, so that's cool. And the aesthetics on this piece are also absolutely incredible. Now, we have these beautiful bronzed titanium collars on both sides, which match into the titanium clip, which is also bronzed, which blend into this beautiful copper forced patina backspacer that is an absolutely gorgeous piece. And it all blends into this blade. This blade is an absolute beauty. All the swedges and grinds and little flexes that it takes to achieve a finish like this really and genuinely show that the maker is not only talented, but he's talented and he gives a damn. And that is an absolutely positive thing. Now overall, this knife leaves a weird taste in my mouth. Now I love the way it looks, I love the way it cuts, I love the way it carries, I love almost everything about this piece. But I mentioned briefly about the whole lock stick thing, and this is an over $1,000 knife, and for it to be that bad out of the factory, I kind of don't care that it's going to break in eventually. I have never had lock stick be so profound that I'm literally red-faced and sweating, using all the force in my body to disengage a lock bar on a fucking knife. So I want to give this knife a 10, but I'm going to have to give it an 8 because that lock bar by itself needs to be deducted by at least 2 points. That is the only thing really wrong with this knife. I have nitpicks with it. I wish this whole thing blended into one seamless finger choil. I hate the way knives do that. Schreier does the same thing that I also can't stand. But that's really kind of the only piece, and that's very much a nitpick. But again, this lock bar, which is currently locked up again, is an absolute travesty, and I really wish that he would take care of this at the factory. Now, I understand in time this will break in. From everybody I've talked to, these knives are fantastic in the long term. But in the short term, man, if I pay you $1,000 or over $1,000, you better give me a knife that at the very least opens and closes without me having to sweat. That to me is an ugly thing. So overall, that's going to be my score of the Sean Connolly LBXL. Definitely like the knife. I'm probably going to be getting one pretty soon, but man, I'm not looking forward to breaking this whole thing in. But on the upside, Scott, it's getting damn close for you, brother. By the time you get this in hand, it'll be smooth as glass, and I'll have no thumbs. So anyways, take care, folks. I love you all, as always, and bye.